I don't see the intro screen.
Oh, well, you're live now.
Oh,
After last week, you blasted me for not telling.
Got him.
well, the screen I see
Got it.
now is the future. I'm looking at some of the events we have in the future. But I want to say welcome to everybody here to the Warhammer Meta Chasers. We are live. We go live approximately at 9 p.m. Eastern Time each and every Thursday, bringing you the biggest and best events coming up over the weekend for Warhammer 40,000. My name is Paul Murphy, your host. I'm joined by Adam Camilleri.
Evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 4. That's 4. Crazy. Who would have thought?
And Dustin Henshaw.
I'm here for it. Let's go.
Oof.
I
Look
didn't
how
know we
on
were doing
point we
4
are.
puns. I didn't know
Look
we were
how on
doing
point. Yeah.
that. Yeah, I should've. Oh, well, anyway, welcome to the show. Hope everyone is having a great evening, day, morning, whenever if you're listening to us after the fact on the podcast aggregators. Hope your day is going all right. We're going to be talking about 2 events coming up this weekend, largely because, hey, some events didn't unlock their list for us. What were they
Okay.
thinking?
Come on.
Pretty much, man. I mean, I had to lovingly. At the 9th hour, hence we are 15 minutes late. I messaged the TO at the Storm of Silence GT we got coming up as our second event, and just out of curiosity, mate, when would they be going live if someone was wanting to cover your event? And he's like, 5 minutes from now, big boy. Bada bing, bada boom. We're like, cha-ching, we're in. Let's do swish 3-pointer. Let's smash it down.
Well, look, obviously we're in that kind of like point between editions where folks are probably trying to get the last hurrah with some of their list,
Yeah.
still trying to strive for some much needed points or recognition in their gaming clubs or whatever. Sometimes they just want that sweet plastic trophy.
Awesome golden tickets, which I know there's a couple up for grabs this weekend in various places. The second event almost certainly. I'm not sure about the first one. We've got Clan Wars over in Scotland in Bathgate happening this weekend. I'm not sure if there's a golden ticket up for grabs there.
59 players, 6-round event. I'm glad you mentioned those golden tickets. People get to come hang out in my hometown, Atlanta, with me. And hopefully y'all.
I don't know how you managed that. How many like dollar bills got pushed under doors or bricks thrown through windows? I don't know how you played it, but that was a beautiful trip. Whatever you did,
sites. I'm just
Did
standing
great.
there. No, it's just enough talking about how cool the city is, and want to welcome everybody to what is probably a great time in Atlanta because it's not going to be so hot in November. So you don't want to miss it. There's also the narrative event happening there. It's a bunch of other things. But we got plenty of time to talk about that event. But you're right, there are tickets for grabs out there all over the world to make it the World Championships of Warhammer. Keep that your eyes peeled for events if you can participate in that. Let's talk about this. In Scotland, like you mentioned, Clan Wars, Bathgate, almost 60 players, 6-round event. Dustin, what are we seeing there?
I can tell you, but I don't know if
Wow.
I'm ready for it. 1 Sister Battle, 2 Custodes, 1 Admech, 7 Astro Militarium, 3 Granites, and 2 Imperial Knights. Space Marines, there's 3 Space Wolves, 2 Blood Angels, 1 Ultramarine, 1 White Scar, 1 Imperial Fist, 3 Iron Hands, 1 Death Watch. Chaos, there's 2 Chaos Space Marines, 2 T-Suns, 1 World Eater, 3 Demons, and 3 Renegade Knights. Wow. Xenos, there's 2 Necrons, 2 Orcs, 4 Tau, and 3 Votan. Hive Mind, there's 0 Tyranids and 3 G Cult. Okay, I'm down.
See the swing there. A couple
I
weeks
see
ago,
it.
that would have been the other way.
It makes sense though. I mean, Tyranids are on the downswing. GSC are on the upswing until 10th edition with all this new stuff coming out. Then we'll probably see it go back the other way, but who knows? Eldari, we have 2 Harlequins, 3 Suriani, and 1 Yunari meeting the faction podium. It's Astra Militarum topping it off. No real surprises there with 7. Tau in second with 4, and then a whole bunch of 3s.
I wouldn't be surprised if there are some other Astra Militarum players that have masked their faction.
You know what? Probably.
Well, there was a couple of people there's one guy I think listed as his faction as Deathcore Krieg, and I had to track him down, run him to ground, figure out what he was running. And same for someone to list themselves as Cadians. I'm like, I'm sorry guys, the world is broken. We're just guard now. As hard as it hurts me, until they let us take 100 Kassakin, which I will do at some point should they let me, it's just all the guard.
You're ready? You're ready with all the Kassakin?
Technically I am actually.
Wait, how many Kassakin do you actually have?
So I have a full platoon of 100 legit Forge World Envirohazard upgraded guardsmen, which I was using as my remnants of Cadia Kassakin for a very long time. I have to put them on 28 mils now. I didn't actually know they put the Kassakin on 28 mils. The cheeky buggers. I was like, oh cool. I rebased all my mortar teams down to 50s from 60s. Yeah, and then I managed to scramble together freaking 9 80 mil bases for my Sentinels. Do you know nothing else comes on 80 mil bases? The event I went to on the weekend, I had to get TO approval to have cork cut out 80 mils because I couldn't nothing comes on 80 mil bases and you can't buy them from G-Dub. They're like all sold out. It's a rough day at the
But you
office.
did it.
And then I got to the event and one of my opponents was just like, "They're supposed to be on 28s now." I'm like, "Shit." Then I looked it up. I'm like,
See,
"Damn, they are." I'm like,
this is what I love about being a meta chaser is that you have to do these types of fire drills.
yes. I was a bit disappointed that I missed that one because I thought I did a really good job catching all the others and getting ways and means. And then to miss, yeah, I only had 10 Kassakin in that list, but it annoyed me that I missed it.
28 mils, the way of the future.
I think it is, genuinely. I think it is. Maybe Cultists, Gretchen, regular Guardsmen, 25 still, Guardians, stuff like that.
I'm telling you right now, I am not rebasing 300 Termagants. I'm sorry,
RG Steelers?
It's not happening.
Or,
Are they on bigger ones, do you think? Like from the pictures you've...
I don't know yet. A lot of people are saying they are. I haven't seen them in person yet. So
I wouldn't look.
Sure.
I would not touch a single one until you know for sure.
Oh God, no.
Sure.
Even if I do, like I'm.
Because the Eldari, some of the Eldari came out, like the Guardians are on
true.
28 mils, but yeah, Swooping Hawks and Striking Scorpions or whatever,
Still
25s.
Yeah.
Howling Banshees, 28, I believe. So,
Are they 28?
It's just going to be a thing.
I think so. I think they are. I mean,
Mine are
again,
on
don't trust
25s.
me. Look at the miniature.
I'm looking at mine. They're on 25s, but I don't know. Maybe I put them on the wrong bases.
Back to Clan Wars, guys.
Oh, sorry.
When annually,
I got off on a tangent talking about meta chasing.
The Scots come together to, unite the clans and get revenge on Edward the Longshanks. But 7 Astra Militarum, 4 Tau, a bunch of 3s. Anybody surprised about the guard numbers?
Guard
not
numbers?
at all.
Absolutely not. Tau numbers
Absolutely not.
don't surprise
Tau
me
numbers.
because of the guard numbers.
So is that because you think Tau is a good counter for guard, or
No, because if Astra Militarum are that prominent with all of their guns, Tau are obviously going to be that prominent too. But I do think the Tau do have a good game into them right now with their smart missile game with the broadsides. I do actually think they have a good game into them. But with their railguns and smart missiles, they
the
can play
interplay
into
between that matchup is really interesting because there was the event I just went to on the weekend, the ANZ TC, the Australian Team Championships. I was playing guard and I had lots of the Tau lists had the double bomber and all the devilfish with the breaches in, and against that list I was super confident. I was actually, this is fine. The breaches, I just play with Sentinels and Lehman Russes, can't kill me, we're good. But you're right, all the infantry get absolutely shredded instantly by that stuff, especially with the SMS coming back into the fore. And in fact, I'm starting to see a lot of people realize that broadsides may just be the go again.
Yeah.
Like one unit of triple sides, one squad triple
side.
side.
That was the only reason they really left. Even the nerf to out of line of sight wasn't what did them in by itself. It was the core loss. We're seeing that now because now the core's back on them. They're back on the menu.
Back on the menu, baby. Apart from that, there's no other real outliers, faction stats-wise, to go through. So let's jump in and talk about some of the top players in attendance. I have a triple complement of WTC Team Scotland players for your viewing pleasure, guys. These are 3 of the people who will be representing Scotland in Belgium later this year. Or is it 3 months away? Just under 3 months away. The first up is, I think he's the co-captain, or he might be the 2 IC. I'm not quite sure where the power dynamic lies between him and Inez Wilson. But this is Brian Seep. He's playing Asuriani Hail of Doom. And this is kind of what I think of as the quintessential Hail of Doom list now. And it makes a lot of sense that this is something that a top player would want to play into a Guard and Tau meta. He's got Elites as his Arcs of Omen mandatories. He's got Baharoth and Karandris, 2 Farseer Skyrunners, a 3 and a 1 a Warlock Skyrunner, the 3 being
I like all that. It's a nice package.
Is a very great package. 5 Rangers, max Dire Avengers, that is 30, 3x10 Dire Avengers, 5 Scorps, 5 Banshees, a max unit of 9 Wind Riders with Shuriken Cannons, 3 Shroud Runners, 3 Shining Spears, and a single War Walker. What do we make of it, boys?
So you got the Shining Spears for fast moving, you got the War Walker coming in from the side if you need him to. A bunch of very dynamic characters to go up and score points. Baharoth just to be absolutely obnoxious.
I like it a lot. I mean, the perma, the fire at the every turn, fire and fading, max unit of Wind Riders makes all the sense in the world.
yeah.
Pop them out, destroy, pop them back. The 30 Dire Avengers to come in, get your secondaries, then get a bunch of buffs. What is really interesting is I'm seeing the Baharoth and Karandras more in teams, and then now I'm seeing it more and more and more where shooting is the dominant archetype. Because Baharoth and Karandras, you can just push out onto a middle objective as long as they can't get charged or smited. Turns out guard don't bring smites and tower don't bring smites or big charges. You can just put them out and they can't kill them.
Yeah.
They
Because
literally
they
can't
can
kill
only
them.
take 3 wounds per phase. So you can
Exactly
only
right.
do it in the shooting phase. You're only going to take 3 wounds off.
And they're obsec. You chuck them out on a middle objective. You can't just use a little scout set and they'll go take it away. The best you can do is contest it if you turn that guy obsec. I think they are fundamental to this list surviving in this meta. Very good pick by Brian. My only qualms, and I think I have the same qualms about most Asuryani lists at the moment, is just how many points they spend on their Farseers, on their Warlocks, on their
I
Braharos
was
and
actually going to bring
Commanders.
that up too. I've seen a lot of
It's-
people using the 3 and 1 Warlock Skyrunner. That's a pretty big point investment for that. Is there a reason for that specifically?
When you've got 2 Skyrunners and 2 Phoenix Lords, it is a lot of points. Like that is a lot of
Yeah.
other stuff you could have. Sorry, Paul. What were you going to say?
Oh no, I was going to say you basically guaranteed points essentially. You even pack in some redundancy with the powers if you felt like you needed to, because your whole factory can get turned off. You lose the quicken on one.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. So the single Warlock Skyrunner is probably the quicken bait. Goes out,
Yeah.
slaps down War Ritual, gets quickened back. One of the Farseers will be the Kernov's Bow, mortal wound generating, offensive. Have Executioner go out, do a smite. And then the other one's probably got the quicken, and it's the auto pass. Quicken can't be denied. Skyrunner, sorry, and so. It's very, like you said, it's just money in the bank. But I always just look at it and be like, damn, it's a lot of points. That's like a quarter of your army right there, and just
Which your opponent has to really try hard to take out some of the stuff in this list, though. I mean, like
100%. Yeah,
that's what it is. You're hoping that you can outlast them by a couple of turns, get ahead on the points. Maybe your lethality comes into effect. Eldari are really good at just deleting units as soon as they expose themselves in the battlefield, and then you got to kind of bleed as you're going towards them, so there's less and less you can bring to bear on their weaker units, which makes them by proxy stronger.
Exactly right. I do love seeing the Shining Spears back in here again. I think especially in the guard matchup where you have the 3 Shining Spears or the 3 Shroud Runners, where you can just be like Phantasm, put them out the front, go see if you can cut an angle, get a freaking Ethereal, get a Tower Commander, get the Kassakin in the guard matchup. I think they're fundamental. They're really, really, really good.
Yeah, and Dorian and Chaz mentioned, you got to have Guide and Doom as well. So
Yeah.
you need a lot of the things like the gas that makes this engine purr is that collection of units right there at the top of that list.
You guys remember when Doom was just reroll all wounds against the target?
Yeah.
That was pretty broken.
Love that.
Yep. So busted. So busted. All right. Next up, we have Chris Irvine, who is, of course, another member of the WTC for Team Scotland. He's playing Goth Orcs. There's a bit more of a mechanized build than we've seen in recent history, but he's got fast attacks as his mandatory slots. He's got a beast boss on Squigosaur, he's got a war boss on Warbike, and boss Zagstruck. So essentially, he's got 3 war bosses because Zagstruck is a pseudo war boss. 2x10 Beast Nagger Boys, 3 into 10 Gretchen, 10 Commandos, 2x4 Meganobs, much to my chagrin, 25 Storm Boys, that's 10, 10, 5, 2x3 Warbikers, 2 Battle Wagons, and 2 trucks. So he's got 4 transports, and then he's got 25 Storm Boys, 10 Commandos, and essentially this guy can be well and truly on top of you at the drop at the turn 1. But what I find interesting about this, and I'm seeing this a lot from Orc players, a lot of Orc players feeling like they have to war turn 1 just for the survivability. Even if they're not going to be able to connect with you, they're like, well, I can't actually cross the open ground. I can't make it to you on a lighter table if I don't war. I have no chance of crossing it. So they war, and then they don't get the charges. And I feel like this is a better way of doing it, being like, hey, well, I'll just post up next to a bunch of elves with my trucks, my battle wagons. Cool. If you pop it, I'll disembark into them, and then I'll war from the middle of the board and get a big swamp turn. And that's got stuff like Warbikers who can, if you do turn 1 war, 2x3 Warbikers, 25 Storm Boys, 10 Commandos, turn 1, if they go first, can just all get a charge very easily. So
with the Mega Knobs here, I love the Mega Knobs, but you've been in favor in previous weeks about just regular old knobs with cool weapons, and maybe that was the hotness for a couple of weeks. But what do you think is pushing folks back to Mega Knobs, Dustin and Adam?
Dustin?
The damage. The amount of damage they can actually output in terms of the big numbers anyway, because they don't have any like D6 or D3+3 damage guys aside from like the beast boss. They need something else that can actually trade into bigger units without just worrying about the volume they can put out. Because everything else they have, the beast snaggers, the commandos, the storm boys, they all put out huge volume, but none of them have like the damage to get through some of the bigger stuff. And the strength too.
There are a lot of things in the meta where you just need 3 damage in combat to handle, especially this one. I think about like 7 guard players, think about how many Lehman Russes or Dawns that's going to be. Regular knobs ain't going to cut it. Like just 2 damage on the claws, wounding on 4s or even 5s if it's a Rogel Dawn. You just need the 3 damage sometimes. I do prefer, if I was going to take them, 2x4 is enough. I think that you make, the CP to go to 3 damage either matters or you don't bother when you have a 4-man. When you have a 5 or a 6-man and someone pops down transhuman, you're like, well, I guess I just don't spend, like, whatever. They're not worth the points. They're not worth the whatever. Should they be blade guard? Should they be, whatever it may be. But when you have 4-mans, either they do the job or they don't. Not a big deal.
It's not a huge point investment for 4 of them. Like it's
no,
lot.
It's not.
It's not a huge point investment.
Exactly right. I'm actually a big fan of this list. I like the transport heavy. The 4 transports actually, I think, adds quite a bit to this.
Yeah, I actually think that the 4-man Mega Knobs is a compromise to fit in the transport capacity in some way. I bet that's one of the considerations.
Absolutely.
You've heard it here now that Adam does like the Mega Knobs, so.
I don't love them. I can see why a meta would make me need to take them. And that doesn't feel good, having a meta that way they're like ubiquitous. Like you have to have 3 damage in combat or you can't go. I think about like Orcs versus Custodes and like they're just, what you gonna do? It's very rough in some of those matchups out there when you don't have 3 damage in combat.
Oh, you've woken up Seth and Mad Doc. He's in the chat. He's having a nice little orc debate in the chat right now between viewers. That's one of the cool things. If you're listening after the fact, that I'll mention this on every show, is that we have a great, absolutely amazing chat community. And so if you are, kind of looking to hang out and then be a part of the show and talk to other folks watching Warhammer Meta stuff, we do this every week live on YouTube.
That is right. And you should definitely join us. Which way is the debate going at the moment?
I think it's not really a debate. They're more just like talking about the stats about, -1 to hit. Why would you use certain units over the others? Basically, go orcs.
Squighogs between Squighogs and bikes.
We got a wah happening right now. There's just orc stuff happening. Just a lot of orc. Orcs are always having fun.
Love to see it. All right, last up, we have Daniel Davidson, and I do want to look your parents in the eye and ask them why they went with the double Ds. But here we are. He's playing Renegade Knights House Vextrix, which is the more Daka-centric of the Knight houses. He has, of course, Lords of War as his Arcs of Omen Mandatories. He has an Abominant, which is the first freaking time in a while I've seen an Abom on the table.
Love that model, though.
Oh, it's the best. It's just the best. 2 Brigands, a single Carnivore, 4 Stalkers, and then a super heavy auxiliary of Worthy Offerings with 3 Executioners in it. So this is very much a Daka-centric Knights list. I conceptualized a similar list like this with John Lennon while we're in the Isle of Warhouse, trying to figure out new wrinkles on the Renegade Knights. And this was one we came to that was much more of a defensive build. That we conceptualized this as being a bit more of a team skew, because what you really want to do is get the Abominant a kill, essentially, and any old kill that will pop it off to being, essentially unshootable, because then it'll have a feel no pain, trans-hitman with no rerolls, and then you just stick it on a middle objective, and then the rest of your guys play defense while the Carnivore and the Stalkers play defense for the Abominant, so it doesn't get swapped in combat, and then they sit as the kind of middle buffer between, your 2 Brigands and your essentially your 5 shooty Daka War Dogs that kind of play the back of the board getting angles. It turns out to be quite a sick build. It does have some big downsides. Like, the Abominant goes second versus Tau. Cool, lol, 2 railguns, bang, bang, see you later. You've got to put it in reserve if that's the case. But the good thing about it walks on from reserve, rolls its dice, tries to get that feel no pain up, and then it can really pop off from there. I do like this list. It's not my favorite way to play them, but I do respect it. And I'm really happy to see the Abom back on the table, because I think it has a really nice wrinkle in the current meta.
What's the Worthy Offerings getting them?
I think the Worthy Offerings was that if you get any kill, you get to your tier. I'll just quickly look it up for you guys. But what do you guys think of the list overall?
I'm interested to see the Abominant again because I always liked it in terms of survivability, but I didn't like it in terms of what it actually did other than survive. If that makes any sense, because I don't know. Its gun was actually decent. I don't mind its gun. It's just swingy because I think it's only 2 shots, isn't it?
No, I think it's actually 6 shots, but it's strength
it?
9, AP 1, 3 damage. 6 is to wound, 3
Oh,
mortal
that's right. I was
wounds.
thinking of the other one. No, yeah, the gun's actually not bad. It's not that great in close combat though.
No,
It's
it's
got
a bit of just
the Abominant. It's got the whip and the tail. It's got all kind of stuff. It does everything.
It's a psyker too, man. I know.
Yes.
I feel like it does everything, but nothing really well.
You're right. You are right. It's like if you have to push it in a little bit, but I kind of like the composition of this list. It's not like skewed one way or the other. It looks, I think, what maybe maybe the designers felt like a Chaos Knight list would look like when people built them.
He's matched up for the shooting matchups really quite well. Worthy offerings, by the way, is each time model with this Fellbond makes an attack against a monster, vehicle, or character, add 1 to the hit roll.
Oh, right.
So the 3 executioners will be hitting on 2s or 3s through a forest. And then if they have a favorite with the Dark Gods and it destroys any monster, vehicle, or character, it goes straight to the top tier of the offering tally. So it pops straight off for its super buffs and things like that, should you have purchased any.
Okay.
And House
that
of
should
Vectrix,
be fairly easy to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
It should be, especially because House of Vectrix on the other models is when you shoot, you roll 1 hit roll and 1 wound roll, which really helps the Abominant get the mortal wounds popping. So I do like this list quite a lot for what it is.
So many lists are packing like smaller vehicles that are easy to pick up for a executioner.
It's true.
You brought a Viper? Lol.
Landspeeder Storm, again, there's
exactly, and they have
a lot of stuff.
They have to use those storms to stop stuff like the Stalkers and the Carnivores running straight down their throats. So they're going to give them to you.
That's the ironic part about fighting Renegade Knights. It's like, I can trade into them really well. It's like, but you don't want to.
You're powering me up, baby. Do it. It's really good. Yeah. And then, of course, this list will have a bunch of what I love about this list will be also it'll have a bunch of Havoc launches, which it can play essentially the SMS game as well. You got Crude Hounds, yes, cool. Man. SMS versus SMS. Your SMS don't hurt me. But see, the thing is, the Tau SMS don't hurt the Knights, but the Knight SMS Havoc launches really kill Breaches, really kill Crude Hounds, stuff like that. So it's kind of like the Havoc launcher is easily worse, but in the matchup it's better.
Yeah, fair points.
Yeah. But yeah, like this list, I hope it does really well for him.
That's pretty cool. So now at the point of the show where we pick a winner. We either pick a faction, a player, basically anything we want. Who do we think is going to take this down in Scotland?
I am actually going to go with Eldar.
Us? Yep, I think that's a damn fine pick. I'm going with Orcs. We got Orc players in the chat. I like Chris's
Somebody
list.
Had to.
Orcs. Let's go.
Look, nobody's beating Astra Militarum.
Yeah, and then once again, Paul remembering that we actually keep track of this stuff now.
Path of least resistance, Murphy over here.
You can see, well, actually, one of the things we're going to do on the Patreon is track this and actually give an update on who was right most often over the course of the week or the quarter or whatever.
Funny you say Patreon, because that is alive and well, along with our Discord channel. And should you want to support us in any way, you can go over to Warhammer Meta Chasers over on Patreon. We have 3 beautiful tiers for you. If you just like what we do and want to support us, $3 a month, we will be very grateful to have your support. Should you want some perks for your support, you can tier it up twice. We have a $10 and a $15 tier. That $15 tier lets you influence our Fuego questions at the end of the show, in addition to the rest of the perks, that being the Discord, that being access to the show notes, so you can see everything and every piece of information that we extract for the great production that we put on. In addition, the full second half of the show will be coming either next week or this week coming, or the week after, depending if we get enough patrons to warrant the effort, where minimum of 2 of us will be getting together and running back the result and how close we all got to picking the winners and who did win from the events that we covered, who did well.
And that'll be exclusive to Patreon.
Exclusive only to the Patreon supporters. So hope to catch us there. We'll have Meta Chasers over on Patreon. All right, boys, what's up next?
Well, this is where we would also normally run a sponsor ad. So, if you are interested in sponsoring us, hit us up through the links in the show notes. We'll be happy to talk about it. It's going to be an awesome time. We got big things planned for the rest of this year. We're jumping continents, aren't we?
We are. We're headed over to the Pacific Northwest, east, diagonal up the top left of the United
It's
States.
the Storm of Silence in
Yep.
Spokane, Washington. That is Washington State, which is on the other side of the country from DC. So just keeping people geography located, rooted.
We're
Yeah.
really good at geography here on the. Meta
And you question, you take the mickey out of me, take the piss out of me when I have to state things are in Europe.
103 players, 5-round event. No, look, I know we have an international audience, and by the way, that is awesome. But they're in here in the States, and I'm sure in other places. But we name things. We only had 10 names to pass out. We got a lot of places.
Well, when you were naming things, you'd only been around for like 10 years. You only had like 10 dudes that had made an impact by then. So I was just like, oh well, rinse, repeat, let's go.
5 rounds, 103 players. Dustin, what are we going to see there?
For the Imperial Super Faction, we're going to see 4 Sisters of Battle, 5 Custodes, 4 Astra Militarum, 4 Grey Knights, and 3 Imperial Knights. Space Marines, there's 3 Dark Angels, 2 Space Wolves, 4 Blood Angels, 3 Ultramarines, 2 Black Templar, 1 Imperial Fist, and 2 Iron Hands. Chaos, there's 6 Chaos Space Marines, 3 T-Cents, 4 World Eaters, 7 Demons, and 5 Renegade Knights. Xenos, there's 6 Necrons, 5 Orcs, 6 Tau, and 9 Votan.
9 Votan!
Wow.
I thought there'd be more World Eaters, by the way. I know we'll talk about that in a second, but I thought there'd be more.
Hivemind, there's 2 Tyranids and 1 GSC. Eldari, there's 3 Drukhari, 2 Assyriani, and 1 Yarni, meaning the faction podium is the Leagues of Votan, topping it off with 9. Chaos Demons in second with 7, and then CSM, Necrons, and Tau in third with 6.
I think that's the second time we've ever had Votan at the top.
Yeah.
I think it's the first time we've had Votan number 1,
The
second or third time they've hit the podium. They have had second, they have had third before. I can't remember them getting first place before.
I thought that like shortly after the release and after the Hobby Lag caught up, like at their second wave of release, I thought, but I could be
podium. I don't know if I know.
I can't remember. Now that you say that, you got me questioned. I 100% remember them getting a couple of third places on the podium, but
Yeah.
I thought this was the first time. You might be right though, Paul. But this shit is wild. This is wild.
Yeah, Necrons are back on there now.
Dude, Necron's hitting the podium. Chaos Space Marines hitting the podium for the first time in like 2 or 3 months. And yeah, Leagues of Votan top in the charts with 9 is absolutely out of there. But literally, as soon as you get past the first 2, the spread is actually beautiful. The amount of factions between 4 and 6 is the vast majority of those in attendance. It's really quite a beautiful spread once you get past the podium.
It's nice. I'm actually down with this. That's not a bad meta either, because if you'll notice, Astra Militarum is not on the podium.
Dude, it is not. Like, what is wild is that Astra Militarum isn't, but Tau is. And then Tau is, but none of the Eldar is. In fact, the Eldar super faction in like Washington is kind of dismal. The Eldar and Hivemind super factions are pretty much like gutted.
Yeah.
What is wild is that the most represented super faction is Xenos, which we haven't seen since the heyday of Necrons about 6 months ago.
I like that.
It's a very unique part of the world, and a very unique meta, which I think is really exciting. Hell, the second place is Chaos. It's not even Imperium. It's like a fantastic spread. Really, really well done. Well done, Washington.
It's a different spread, that's for sure.
It's one of the most interesting spreads I've seen in probably this year, to be honest.
Yep, definitely.
All right, jumping into some of the top players in attendance, because we're only doing 2 events and this meta was so wild, you have 4 lists for your viewing pleasure. The first of which is Chuck Arnett, one of the Biff Pod legends. That is the best in a faction podcast if you're all interested in hearing some more about this wild meta. He's playing Chaos Demons, which is technically undivided, but in actuality it's pretty much just Zench with a Bloodthirster. And
the Bloodthirster for the wound traps, or whatever. You gotta.
Exactly right. So he has that said Bloodthirster. Then he has a Zinj Demon Prince, a Fate Skimmer, and a Torment Bringer on Hellflayer. So there is a little bit of Slanesh in here as well. Then he's got 30.
I do not recall what a Torment Bringer on a Hellflayer does.
I have no freaking idea. All I know is it's a lady with
seismic cannons of demons.
It's a lady with big old whips that break all the time on one of those old-fashioned lawnmowers that you have to push. You know those ones?
That one. Yeah. That one. Okay.
Yeah, that one. That's that one. 30 pink horrors, 3x10, 2x10 blue horrors. 16 flamers, so two shy of the max, that being 6/5/5 flamers, and then 3 exalted flamers. Now, what's interesting about this is it wants to play pretty similar to how the old Demon 8th edition ones played, where it pretty much got 2 pink horror units sitting at so 2 blue horror units holding your back objective, then 30 pinks just kind of bubble up the table, possibly 1 or 2 in reserve to deep strike down should one of them get roll poorly on their 3 pluses or not get the right amount of splits. You can kind of refresh it, divert 1 10-man off to hold a midboard objective, deep strike another 10 in front again, and then off you go. The Demon Prince and the Hellflayer give a bit of explosive damage potential here and there, and then the Fate Skim is a baby Lord of Change doing a good amount of mortal wounds, a very reliable amount of mortal wounds, not as much as the lock, but still quite good. And especially when you add into that the Zinj Demon Prince doing a couple of mortals as
the
well.
lock being the Lord of Change, the short.
Apologies. Yeah, apologies. And then, of course, we somehow got the Thirster in here, who has got Brazen Hide, who I do think has the Blood Drinker talisman, so when he gets kills, he gets wounds back. And so there is just that. It's like, cool, if you can handle pinks in combat, can you handle a Thirster as well? Oh, cool, you can handle a Thirster, 30 pink horrors. It's really quite of a nice dichotomy, nice balance to the list.
I like it.
I do too.
The Zinj, because the Zinj, pure Zinj, I don't think it has any real good benefits aside from the +1 to hit, which is great for the Flamers. Mm-hmm. But do they need it?
Not particularly, especially if you know the tables. If the tables don't have a huge amount of forests or WTC vents, the Flamer sitting on 3s with some rerolls is kind of...
Well, it's the Demon Prince. The Demon Prince is going to move around there and be like its own little death bomb of things.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly right.
And the Bloodthirster has the benefit of granted, how they sleep it in? Why they sleep it in? Is it themey? Well, what the Bloodthirster does, it gets in the head of your opponent. The opponent starts dealing with all these like math issues and how to pace their attacks and turns, and where do they overcommit to get the 8 wounds, but do they commit too much and risk not being able to fire at something else? And so you're putting your opponent in this really, you've given them some math they have to perfectly figure out, or they blank part of their turn, which allows you to kind of jump up and overwhelm them.
Because a lot of the time your opponents will ignore the Bloodthirster for a while. They'll just ignore it because they need to kill everything else.
I will say, ignoring the Bloodthirster is also not the right thing to do.
Nope, it is not.
Because it will. Well, so this is the thing, though. In the pure shooting matchups, the Bloodthirster makes the Mono Zinj better, doesn't it?
Yes.
Because the Bloodthirster demands fire every turn. You must do those 8 wounds every turn. Otherwise, there's no point shooting the Thirster at all.
Yeah,
I can see that.
It demands attention away from the pinks. And hell, if you don't start working on the pinks immediately, and if you're all shooting, you're kind of stuffed. And so it's kind of it's doubling down on what is already good about the Zinj archetype by adding in the wild, like, do you over invest into the Thirster? Because sometimes I've shot a Bloodthirster just trying to do the 8 wounds turn 1, and it's taken my entire army. And then other times, like first 2 multi-melters, bada bing, bada boom, done. It's kind of crazy how swingy you can be.
Yeah,
it's like 1 volley of las guns and a crack grenade.
Exactly right.
Perfect. That's all
or 5 Lehman Russes. Yeah, I love this list. I think it's really good. It's going to be a great run for him.
Well, demons do have all the keys. Like they got every puzzle solver, problem solver in that book. It's just like, what do you bring, and do you get the right matchups along the way?
Really well said. Next up, with 9 Leagues of Votan in attendance, I had to look at one of the... I went through and looked at all the Votan lists. I started putting together... I don't know if you guys remember in the Thursday show days, every now and then when we'd see an outlier get a big podium spot, I would do a breakdown of the meta of all those lists. I started doing that, and then I found this list and was just like, nah, that's the one we're putting on the show. This is Eric Naramore. He's playing the Ymir Conglomerate, Leagues of Votan. He's got Elites as Ivarx's Omen choice. I think it's Elites. It wasn't actually listed, but I don't think it matters because he hasn't gone over 3 of any of his slots, so it doesn't matter. He's got a Brokir Forge Master, Iron Here Champion, and a High Carl. Then he has 9/5/5 Hearthguard. So he has 19 Terminator equivalents, essentially. He's like freaking pseudo Deathwing over here. He's got 3x3 Pioneers, 3 Thunderkin, and a Hecaton. So he is down with the thickness, really, really, really packing it in. All got big old invuln saves here, there, and everywhere. And so he's got a big unit of Hearthguard with the teleport. And there's got 2x5 that can pretty much just sit on objectives and hold it down for him and be really good shooting options into a variety of different targets. I actually kind of look at this list and feel like it's really good into demons because it's got all the mortal wounds that you can get off the Hearthguard. It's got the pioneers to take up space. They're not big units, but they're big bases to get in the way. And then it's got 3 Thunderkin with the Gravs and a Hecaton sitting at the back of the board, or the Thunderkin can be in the Hecaton or off the table. Really kind of cool, and I'd never considered how taking a lot of Hearthguard can kind of be a headache for some opponents.
Hearthguard in the Glom, I can't believe I'm saying it, but the Glom.
yes, Dustin, give in. It's only taken me a month or two. I don't know.
Does anybody else say that, chat? Does anybody else say the Glom? I'm just curious.
It'll be a thing.
Or is this more of an Aussie Adam thing?
A thing one.
Anyway, they're ridiculously durable. In the Glom, they're really expensive, but the amount of firepower or any kind of resource you need to put into them to kill them it's too much. Like
you need durability today.
More points than they're worth a lot of the time.
What was that?
Also, you need durability today. I think you have to have it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I wish they were better in combat. Like, I wish they had like a mastercrafted power sword in combat instead of like just coming with a regular power sword.
Their close combat's kind of lackluster. Their shooting's actually.
Their shooting is what you're there for. Absolutely what you're there for. I mean, the Volkite is 3 shots, and then you have another D6 each from the grenade launcher in addition. Like, it's quite nice.
But
I mean, I can envision.
They like teleporters too. They don't get stuck in combat.
Yeah, exactly right. They're a phenomenal screen. And then they got toughness 5, 2 wounds each with the 2-up saves. Demonettes don't go through them very easily. Tower breaches don't love shooting into them in combat when you can't turn off the cover if they're going around corners and stuff.
They still have armor contempt.
And they still have armor contempt, so there's no reroll to wound. And essentially, they're a pseudo 1+ or a 0+ in cover.
Yep.
So I'm a big fan of this, and of course they're -1 damage as well. So I do think they are a great idea if you wanted something to double down in. I wish there was a way. I don't know of a way to make them OBSEC easily, but I think there is a way to make them OBSEC. Might be wrong there. Maybe someone in the chat will correct me on that. But for 45 points, I just wish they had a little bit better combat.
Well, they have enough.
Nah.
They have enough.
They do have enough.
Well, it gets supported by the characters. The characters get in there and mix it up.
Absolutely.
I mean, those are incredibly stout.
Yeah, anyway, I'm a big fan of the list. I think it's a really cool take. I do love that it still gets 3 units of bikes in there as well to really play the ball. Big fan. All right, Dustin, next one is all freaking yours because I can't be bothered with Alex McDougall's Gene Stealer trash. You go.
Wow. It's okay, Alex. I got you, bro.
Man.
Mostly it's the cult thing. I just try to be like, Toil, Fury, Affinity, Convoy, trying to unpack what that means for the list. I just hand pass it to the guy.
He's doing the old
hand pass it to the guy who knows what's up.
He's doing the old school build. So it's Toil. So he's got the mini transhuman. He's got the 6-up Feel No Pain on the bikes and the vehicles, and of course he's got the ignore modifiers with industrial weapons. And the Fury is just that. It's you have a point left. It doesn't. Nobody really even remembers it a lot of the time. I'll be honest. So he's got an Icon Ward of Primus, 3x5 Acolytes, 4x20 Neophytes, Calamorph Sanctus Nexos, Reductus Saboteur, and 10x3 Jackals? 10 and 3 Jackals. Okay, so that's
a unit of 10, a unit of 3.
That's how he fit in the extra Neophytes and Saboteurs.
Yes.
Okay. So Feel No Pain with that many Jackals is helpful. Usually you see the 30 in this list, so he's taken a few of those out in favor of the Reductus, and the Saboteur is actually a lot better than people are expecting a lot of the time. It pops light transports like easily. It's great for that. Also, that the bomb that she lays has done some really cool stuff for me before. But of course, the 4x20 Neophytes, just when they come in, everything dies.
And how do you deploy them? Like with what is your strategy on utilizing those 4x20?
Well,
neophytes?
it depends. One of them will probably have lying in wait, so they'll be able to come in just outside of 3 inches of the enemy, and then they'll try to get behind them. But that's also why the 3x5 acolytes are in there too. They might have flamers even just to kind of help get some free crossfire and things, because they can easily fit behind to give some exposed on units you're trying to kill. So if you draw a line between the neophytes and these acolytes, for example, then you're getting +1 to wound with all of those neophytes and the acolytes too. But they're probably the ones that are going to give a crossfire with some flamers on them. So if you start getting all these +1 to wound, +1 to hit everywhere, things die. Like even shotguns will kill knights.
Yeah.
Oh wow, just for the volume of fire.
Just from the volume of fire, because you'll get 32 shots hitting on 3s, wounding knights on 4s. We're rerolling ones to hit and maybe wound because you got a Primus too. So
that's pretty good.
It's
Okay.
wild, man.
It's
all right.
wild. Like they delete whatever they want. The Sanctus gives free crossfire too. He can do damage, but he's there for free crossfire token. Let's be honest.
So this archetype was initially conceptualized around 30 jackals, 16 neophytes. Yeah.
Yes.
Do you think it's thrown off the balance of it at all to go with the 80 neos and minimum like only 1 unit of 10 jackals, or is this just fine? Just a different take on it.
To be honest, this is just fine. I started to fall out of love pretty quickly with the 30 bikes. I found they were too clunky, and if you went first, they were amazing. But if you went second, one is enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the 1 is just there to, be like, a unit of Black Legion Terminators, which is coming up next, or the unit of 9 Hearthguard. It's there to soak and not die, but it's there to pretty much play defense for a bunch of your characters who need to be in certain places to extend aura ranges, to get off psychic powers, to do a bunch of stuff, yeah? Because unlike so many other things in the game, 10 jackals actually exists in the open pretty well against a lot of opponents, right?
Yeah, they're not bad. And if you don't commit to them enough to kill them all, then D3 of them come back, even though 2 of them have 4 wounds each.
Do they exist because of the number of wounds, or do they have some innate durability?
They have -1 to hit as well. They have a 6 up feel no pain because of the cult trait. So they're -1 to hit, 6 up feel no pain, and they'll respawn. And they have multiple wounds, and it's an awkward number because most of them are 2 wounds, but then the quads have 4 wounds, so you can kind of with the 6 up feel no pain, it really makes it awkward for multi-damage weapons as well.
Sorry, the best example was the horrors. It's actually pink horrors for what 10 jackals brings to the table.
Yep.
Because they don't split, but they regen. You get D3 back. Is that right?
D3, yeah. D3 models. Wounds, D3 models.
Exactly. So that could be 2 4-wound wolf quads, which is very frustrating to see that back.
Wow. Okay.
With a 6 up feel no pain, that's pseudo. It's 9.5 wounds, give or take, that you've got to reshoot through at -1 to hit toughness 4. So like I've shot, like I said, Lehman Russes with Plasmacutioners on it and killed 1 wolf quad with getting max shots, getting 9 shots, hitting on 4s because of -1, wounding on would be wounding on 3s because they're custom to Toil, so you can't wound them on 2s. They got baby transhuman, and then just 6 up feeling no pains can just blank so much. You can just spike. The neophytes, I think, is the tech for the more of the shooting meta.
Yes,
right.
They are the shooting of the list for sure. It's the shooting meta for them. The reason that a lot of people have moved away from that many neophytes and moved more to like trucks and some variations on the cults, because people are getting a lot wiser to, I should not let you come behind me.
Turns out that's bad, right?
Turns out that's bad.
Survey says that's bad.
Survey says +1 to wound against my whole army. Not good. Not good.
Well, I heard of a lot of people making these concessions because there was things like World Eaters coming out here, there, and everywhere, where like 3 World Eaters out of a squad of 5 berserkers can just numb a 20-man, or 8-bound just go through bikes in combat very, very, very well. That there was going to be more things that they wanted more explosive ability from reserve. And is that what this is showing?
Yes, for sure. Like you need that explosive ability from reserve or transports to take a melee hit because they can't kill you with shooting, kind of thing. So you need to be able to survive that and then stay far enough out of range or in some sort of bubble of safety to be able to fight back on your turn.
I want a big mousetrap prop that I can pick it up and be like, assassination, Alex McDougall, big old trap, because he's got 6 like toughness nothing 4 wound characters here, and maybe you're gonna get one of them. Maybe you're gonna get the Saboteur or the Kelamorph, because they got to pop up and be pretty close to do their max damage and whatnot. But literally, that's about it.
Yep. Don't ever take Assassinate against GSC.
It's just a trap.
There we go. You heard it here. Look, it's a trap in a lot of cases. You're putting a lot of power in your opponent's hands when you take the Assassinate secondary.
Yeah.
Funny you say that, Paul, because the only time I've had Assassinate pay off is actually against Blood Angels.
We can't play without our characters.
That's right. That's right. And the funny thing was, like, oh man, you're gonna make me attack you because you're gonna use Angel Sacrifice. I'm gonna get some points from it, at least, minimum. You know, you give me 3 points to Angel Sacrifice into your, whatever.
Yeah, Blood Angels is not one of those lists. Okay, let me rephrase that. Any toughness 3 army.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Correct.
Basically, assassination could be a trap.
All right, last list for this one. This is Mr. Michael Krieger, and he is playing Chaos Space Marines Black Legion, of course, with Votan and CSM on the podium. Had to get them both into our breakdown. What?
Was that?
What?
Someone said what? Joking. Anyway,
No,
Elite is his Arcs of Ovid detachment. He's got a Baton, Dark Apostle, Master of Possession, and a Sorcerer in Terminator armor. 2x10 cultists, 10 Terminators, the full brick. Bunch of special weapons, black rune, 2 Decimator engines, 3 Hellbrutes, and 5 Raptors. Now, my good mate Dean Sinbeck from Blog for the Blood God was the captain for my team on the weekend, and he pretty much, I think, birthed this archetype, or a version of this archetype. And I joked that his army is actually just a combat patrol box, because there's nothing in it. It's literally like it's 5 vehicles and 30 infantry, 35 infantry and characters. It's so small, but it is absolutely savage. Have you boys seen this list before or seen how it works?
I can honestly say I have not actually seen the Decimator engines and Hellbrutes before.
Absolutely fair. So the Sorcerer and Terminator armor essentially has a version of the Veil of Darkness that it'll pick up itself and the Terminators and redeploy them. And so turn 1, you make it so that the Termies just can't get targeted or can't get shot if you go second. And then you get every buff in the world on them and you yeet them into your opponent's face with the Terminator Sorcerer, and then you advance up all the characters behind it, usually being, body blocked by sometimes just raptors, sometimes just cultists, but usually they've got a baton in tow, so it's very hard to contend with or come to grips with. And then they have essentially pseudo unkillable Terminators in their grill, and then turn 2 Decimators Hellbrutes walk on the table and start the killing. It's kind of cute, especially seeing as it can get a 4-inch charge from reserve, because what it can do is you knife dead one of the Terminators with the Master of Possession, get off your psychic powers, and then resurrect one and get a 4-inch charge from reserve. It can do some really cute stuff like that. Essentially, the whole crux of it is, if you can't kill Terminators, this list will run you over. If you can kill Terminators, well, I play Terminators defensively and try and wield the Decimators and the Hellbrutes instead. Because there's still a bunch of high toughness, Hellbrutes with being minus damage, and they're all quite cheap. So it's not a huge points investments for the 5 walkers.
Okay. I'd like to see that on the table, actually. I want to see how that plays, because in my head, I don't get it.
Yeah, it's really wonky. It's really wonky to conceptualize. But this is one of the skew lists that's keeping Chaos Space Marines in the game. I'm a little bit disappointed that it still just resolves around Unga Bunga, my Terminators, you cannot kill them. Ha ha ha. Yeah.
Look, you can't hate on that way to play. Terminators are cool. Terminators
cool.
being on the table for a long time is even cooler.
People have been complaining that Terminators weren't good enough for a long time, and then they got too good. For a little while.
But this is similar to the criticisms I've had, and so there's wasn't really a big criticism of Brian Seep's list. It was more like, I hate that so many characters are necessary to make an archetype thrive. Because you got 400 points in Terminators there, or 400 somewhere between 400 and 450 points in Terminators, depending on what kit you take, how many chain fists, how many combi melters, etc. And then you have to take a baton because you're Black Legion. Why else are you here? You might as well be Emperor's Children if you're not taking him. And then you've got Apostle, Possession, and the Terminator Sorcerer, who's the only character in Terminator armor worth putting the relic on to yeet them. And so you got 400 points in Terminators, and then you're like 500 points in characters. And you're like, where's the rest of my army coming from?
Don't mind that. Hero Hammer and big Terminator units, Chaos Space Marines, can be either ran as a horde or as like a brick, big elite brick. I don't mind seeing it at all. I can't wait to see what they do on the table. And the Decimator engines, those kind of have come in and out of favor for a long time. And Hellbrutes, we've been talking about a Hellbrute meta for a long time as well.
Yeah.
They're just kind of like really kind of efficient for what you're going to ask them to do for their points.
Yeah, well, they're only like, what are they, 100 odd points?
Yeah, like
I think.
120,
they're
30,
pretty
130,
cheap.
something like that.
Yeah, they're
For
very, very, very cheap.
for doing what they do, decent amount of movement. They can hit pretty hard. They can shoot a little bit, and then you got these resources around them to buff them up. I want to give a shout out to chat too. Doc DeLeo in the chat saying that they and their fiance are taking the MCAT tomorrow. I want to know some stats on them. I guess passing. I don't know what that score represents, but of course you're going to pass. You're staying up late listening to a Warhammer show. You got your heads in the game.
You're studying really hard, right? This is exactly where you should be right now.
It's the confidence. You got it.
The absolute confidence. The sheer confidence.
I love it. So the Hellbrute is only 105 points.
Yeah.
So
See,
three of them 315 points. It's very cheap.
did you used to have to buy a weapon for them or something? You don't anymore because I thought they came in like the 120, 130. but-
Only one you have to buy is the twin las cannon, which will put them up to 115. But the rest, every other option is
Yeah.
free apparently.
There we go. Okay. Yeah. So take your missiles or multi-melta and your fist and
Yeah.
go to work.
Exactly right. Or your power scourge. I don't hate the power scourge because you're going in with 8 attacks at strength 7 minus 2/2. There are some metas where that's just kind of better than the big fist, but you've got enough little attacks. And this, like a baton, the potency of a baton that can get wounds back. So in Black Legion, one of the things you can do is you can heal a baton. Like he can become the Terminator brick. Oh, you can kill Terminators? Well, looks like you can only shoot them dead. So here's a baton. I'm giving him D3 wounds back a turn. So he just becomes an absolute frustration piece. Really, really cool.
I love it. I think the player, keeping Chaos Space Marines or any faction back in it, it's how well can you tool it? What can you wring out? What can you see that maybe someone else doesn't see that slots right into the list you expect to face over the course of the weekend?
Mhm.
And that's what look at watching shows like this, but also knowing the environment you're going into, what players you might encounter. What order do you think you might encounter them? What missions, if you know the order of the missions going up across the
Yep.
tournament, all things you can factor in, and then that bursts a list like this, and I love it.
I love it too. I think it's fantastic. What I do also think is fantastic is trying to pick a winner out of this extremely even spread. I'm pretty sure where Dustin's going to go, so let's go Dustin first.
You don't need to ask me. You know.
All right, I'm writing in GSC right now.
Yeah.
Paul, what do you think?
I am also going GSC.
I'm back in Chuck. I'm going demons. I like
Demons
Chuck's
are strong.
list.
Can't
And
wait to
funnily
see
enough,
it.
I like Chuck's list into the Gene Stealer cults. In fact, Dustin, what do you think of that matchup in particular? Two phenomenal players, a more DACA heavy Gene Stealer cult list into all the Zinch Demons and the Thirster.
I've played that matchup quite a few times actually, and we have enough guns.
You just have enough. Exactly right. My feeling was
we can actually, even in close combat, we do enough in close combat too.
Well, that's the funny thing, right?
Yeah.
You just deploy all the neophytes and run at the Zinch Demons. Just be like, some of us are going to get there. It's fine.
This
anyway.
is the part of the show. We're only covering 2 events this time. Typically, we'll cover 3, and I expect that to kind of dip and dive as we move into the new edition, and we'll see how things shake out with events. But this is the part in the show. At the end of the show, we have a palate cleanser. We call the Fuego Rapido. It is, it's glorious. Sometimes
Glorious.
awkward in the best of times.
Cringe factory.
But this is where we give ourselves a series of topics and give 2 minutes to talk about those topics. Sometimes they have very little to do with Warhammer. After the end of those 2 minutes, that topic is abandoned, sacrificed, given to the Great Devourer,
Some other
never to be
anecdote.
returned to again.
Insert inspirational anecdote here. Fuego, go. Yeah, 2 minutes.
These topics are submitted by friends of the show, Patreon supporters. Sometimes our minds, sometimes we have no idea what we're going to be seeing by the time it comes up. It's just a fun way to kind of end the night and end the show. If you have the first time here, it can get silly.
Yep.
Never. It's never gotten silly. What are you talking about? It's never gotten silly before.
That, Paul?
Yeah. It's never happened before. It's wild.
I just like to brace. Look, sometimes this has nothing to do with from here on out.
From here on out,
we might not talk about
guarantees.
40K for the end of the show.
Yeah, zero guarantees of All right, let's do it.
All right. With the new Zelda game getting released, it looks like this is Zelda themed. So,
Ooh.
There you go.
Not against it.
No, definitely not. All right, so number 1, let me get my timer ready here because I don't want
to. Yep. It's a 2-minute thing.
It's a 2-minute thing. All right, number 1. What is the best Zelda game ever made?
Ocarina.
I knew you were gonna go right to that.
Ocarina of Time.
Oh,
yeah.
come on, guys.
I mean,
It's,
it's the Final Fantasy VII of.
It is because
Zelda,
everybody says it, but I bet you most people haven't even played the other ones. They just
What?
hear Ocarina. Yeah, a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, Ocarina is the best" because they played that one, but they didn't actually play it.
What's the masks?
Majora's Mask? That
Majora's
one's actually
Mask.
usually rated pretty low with most people.
It's good. I mean,
What was the recent one that came out?
Breath of the Wild.
well, there's one coming out today, actually, midnight release.
Tears of the Kingdom.
Yep, Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I heard extremely good things about the most recent one. The truth is, you're absolutely right, Dustin. I played like 3 Zelda games, then I played Ocarina, and I haven't played a Zelda game since.
So I don't know if we're going to get there, but I'll say that I still remember buying Legend of Zelda the day it came out, and the first person to buy it in the Toys R Us that I was there. That's how I'm dating myself. Is a Toys R Us.
Toys R Us,
first
yeah.
Legend, and you had to go to a special case to get the games, and the person that was handing me the game asked if I would open it right there just to prove that the cartridge was gold inside. That was because it was like a thing. The gold cartridge.
Yeah.
It's the first time we'd ever seen anything like that. It's amazing.
Yeah, that was a cool
legit.
The answer is Link to the Past, by the way. That's.
Was Breath of the Wild any good?
Breath of the Wild was actually honestly, if Link to the Past didn't have such nostalgic value for me, Breath of the Wild would have overtaken it because it was absolutely.
I thought
phenomenal.
the controls for Breath of the Wild were a little clunky.
It takes a little getting used to, but Ocarina's controls were clunky. Let's be real.
Maybe I was just in the zone then. It's like, hey,
That was the time.
whatever.
Yeah.
I'm at one with this.
Go back
thing.
and play Ocarina now and see if they're clunky. I guarantee you they will be.
Anybody got any water temple stories?
Oh God, no! We're going to the next question. No, we're done with that. That's where I go.
All right, what's up next?
Next up, are the Zelda games connected through an actual timeline?
They are, but they don't come out in order, if I remember right.
Yes, that's the theory. There is a theory that there's actually a couple different timeline theories.
How old is Link, do you think?
See, that's.
Is this just perpetually like mid-teens?
One of the things is like it's not the same.
Unable to age, unable to die, like.
Or it's either is it the same Link that he just keeps going back into the Temple of Time, or is it a different Link? Like, is it like a spirit that gets passed down or something?
Or is it like a multiverse?
Or is it a multiverse
kind of theory? Yeah.
So are you sure it hasn't been? I mean, maybe I'm making this up, or maybe I read too many blogs or whatever. But are you sure it hasn't been confirmed that they are not linked together?
Well, it hasn't been confirmed they're not
linked.
linked. There's just a bunch of there's timeline theories, but there's no canon timeline.
I got you. Okay.
But there's a couple different ones, and there's usually they're around the same. I'm pretty sure most of them say that Ocarina is the first one. And then it splits, so it does actually go into a multiverse based on Majora's Mask goes one way, and then I think it's what's one that goes the other way? It's the original Zelda.
I just love it that Nintendo is like, yeah, whatever, it's all great. Yeah, make up your own stuff. We're not going to tell you.
They don't need to say anything. I don't think they've actually had a hand in any of it. They just kind of read it and say, cool, yeah, no, we're not going to confirm anything. Yeah, sounds good, we had planned this the whole time.
I do love that ostensibly, if you look at the Zelda games if you looked at all the games together as just one, it's just a Mario World game where she's always in the next castle. She's just always in the next Zelda's in the next castle. You got to just go next world. I love it. It's hilarious.
I am fairly convinced that yes, they are, and the games are coming out. And it's up to us to piece it together.
I am also down with that theory too. I would like to think they're connected for sure.
I thought that was a real thing. I didn't know that I had somehow convinced myself of that. I thought
headcanoned it. Headcanon,
yeah. All right. Next up, did Ganon do anything wrong?
He enslaved a bunch of people, didn't he?
Yeah,
did he though?
I think he absorbed some souls at one point as well, too, right?
See, Ganon and Ganondorf are technically two different things.
Okay. Didn't he Akira out into a? Is that who I'm thinking of?
Akira.
Is that Ganondorf? As in, he just kind of.
Ganondorf is the one that looks more human.
Big old beastie.
Yes, Ganondorf is the one that looks more human. Ganon is like the pig-looking
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
He did nothing wrong. He's fine. He's good.
I'm fairly certain that he did like consume souls and like put darkness over a kingdom or something like that.
It's fine. I absolve him of all sin. It's fine.
Okay, there you go.
Adam
Solve that one.
Jeez. All right. Well, Ganon has been absolved, so we can.
It's
move
fine,
on from that
guys.
one. We're done.
Link needs to stop breaking people's pottery. Needs to just stop it. The amount of civil lawsuits about to fall on Link's head is going to be astronomical.
This
kid hide bombs in all the pottery.
Just came into my house, busted up all my pots. It just so happened I kept all my coin in there. How could he have known that? And he left. It's like, it's an inside job. Inside job, guys. My uncle, he's in on it.
Wait, they're all in on it too.
They're all in on it.
He found it. He was lucky once. He found a rupee in one vase. Now he just goes.
Said the president.
That's it.
Dude,
Breaking all of them. Wait a minute, maybe
you ever see the meme? You ever see the meme about the dog that finds like half-eaten pie in a bush, and now every day till the end of time has to closely inspect the pie bush? That is Link in the pots.
That's right.
Look, I can't walk through a grass field without cutting it all down looking for rupees.
Yes,
I can't.
I mean,
So when I'm
it's
watching
fair.
my youngest play and he's like not cutting the grass, I'm like,
What are you doing?
Rupees.
There's probably rupees in there, or a heart or something. Oh no,
Yeah.
there's a bee.
All right. What's next?
Next up, how does Link carry all the items he keeps picking up?
Magic bag. I don't know.
yeah, he's got
TARDIS
They
bag.
never actually mention any bag that he carries. He
They don't.
literally just puts it on his back and it disappears, and then he's carrying it. Like, that's got to be like thousands of pounds. There's literally things in Twilight Princess. There's something he brings out of his bag, and he now can't walk right because it's so heavy. Yet,
But he's fine with it on his back.
He can have it on his back and just pull it out with one hand.
Yeah. Dude, the dude's on roids. Like, I don't know what to say. He's juicing.
If you
100%.
see him in some of the games, he's actually ripped. Like when he has a shirt.
Yeah,
on.
it's like I say,
He's actually
he's
ripped,
juicing. Yeah.
which is crazy, but
So as soon as he's like, oh crap, I gotta save Zelda, he's like, yo,
Let
hook
me
me
put
up.
on my green outfit.
Yeah,
green
yeah.
or blue if he wants to go in water or something. You know?
Yeah, true.
But no, you're absolutely right. It's got to be a TARDIS bag. It's got to be.
I've
bigger
never
than
even
size
thought
of
about
it.
the magic bag until now, and yeah.
Do magic
should
bags
be a
have
thing.
a weight though? Like I've never actually really questioned that in like D&D or something. Do they have?
In bags of holding, the bag itself does have some weight to it, but the things inside don't weigh.
It's just like a dimension, like a separate dimension that it just links to.
And you can't turn it inside out. You can't poke a hole in it or bad things that happen. But so I assume that the Link is operating under the same restrictions.
He has to.
It exists in the same dimension as Dragon Ball Z, and it's a Capsule Corp bag.
So
You know, the Capsule Corp. You know, when you throws a capsule in like a.
link with Dragon Ball Z, and he
That's what I'm
shops
saying.
Capsule Corp.
That's what I'm
Hey,
saying.
Wilder things, Afterlife and Portal,
Yeah.
same universe.
That's
it.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we have decided we've discovered that Link and Zelda are now in the same universe as Dragon Ball
Sorry,
Z.
Half-Life, not Afterlife.
Yeah.
Half-Life.
Yeah.
We all know what you meant. I hope.
I hope.
people- All right, we solved that one. We're good. Last but not least, why doesn't Link speak?
Oh, I thought it was going to be. Wouldn't it be cool if Zelda was a girl or whatever?
I was actually how many of you guys in chat, and of course Paul and Adam, did you think that Link was like named Zelda when you first started playing the game?
For about 10 minutes until my older brother, who was playing the game that I was not allowed to play, that I was allowed to sit here and watch him play, slapped me and said, "It's Link, you idiot. Zelda's the one we're trying to save." And I was
No,
like,
I read the
fair, fair.
manual.
Paul actually read the intro and the manual.
No, did never ever. They used to come with the instruction manuals. Never read a single one of them.
Yeah. Like I was the perpetual player 2 and or player 3 because I'm third brother out of 4,
Oh, yeah.
and so we all got to sit and watch my oldest brother play all the games, and we all learned from him. Well,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
What was the question? Why doesn't Link speak?
Why does he speak?
Yeah.
Because
I
he's
think that's a
guilty.
hallmark of many Nintendo games is that the main characters just don't talk that much.
Well, he doesn't talk at all. He like never says anything.
I think he has such mounting legal issues from property damage. His lawyers have given him explicit instructions that he's not allowed to open his damn mouth. Otherwise, it's just going to be more culpable. It's just gonna it's gonna end in disaster.
Like there
You
were
just can't
rupees in
say
there,
anything.
you know.
Yeah. He's like
I needed more bombs. Shut
and
up!
he's your thieving ways are gonna ruin us, Link. Shush.
When you went into, what's their name's house and just busted up everything and then ran out.
Yeah, it ran out. Like, dude, do you understand how much time you were looking at? And he's like, shut up! Gotta go save a princess. Yeah, save a princess. Try it on again, mate. You're running from your lawsuits. It's fine. Running all over the country. Yeah, she's in another castle. Yeah, you're just running away from your problems.
Okay. No, so we have decided that he doesn't speak for legal reasons. Not out of game legal reasons, but in-game legal reasons.
In-game legal reasons. That's right.
In-world
legal reasons is why Link doesn't speak. It has been solved, figured out. You're welcome, world.
Someone in chat or our Discord, you now have the right to name and invent the character that is Link's lawyer. Headcanon at your heart's content.
Love it.
Look, we're not gonna get any better than that on this show. So it's a perfect time to wrap it up. Dustin, I think you said that was the last fuego.
Yep.
So that's what we do here. Look, if you're listening to us after the fact, please leave us a 5-star review in iTunes or any place you find podcasts. That is a hassle-free way to interact with the show, help us, get out there for the new channel and have folks find us. Leave some comments on the YouTube. Subscribe if you haven't already. Give us some virtual high fives. Join our Discord. We have a great time. We will come back next week. It's been a pleasure, gentlemen. Thanks to everybody in chat. Thank you all for listening outside of the live show. It's been awesome. I'll see y'all next week.
See you
next week.